Hi, good morning. Welcome to Lautarlife. Welcome back to our Advent calendar, day 4, 5, and 6. Today we're going to start with day 4. Day 4 is a new beginning from Genesis 6 through 9. Day 5, giant staircase to heaven, Genesis 11. And then day 6, a son of laughter, Genesis 12 through 21. The star. Okay, thanks for joining me, and let's get started. All right, a new beginning, Noah's Ark from Genesis 6 through 9. Time passed and many people filled the earth. Everyone everywhere had forgotten about God and were only doing bad things all the time. God's heart was filled with pain, and when he saw what had happened to the world he loved, everywhere was disease and death and destruction. All the things God hates most. Now Noah was God's friend, which was odd in those days because no one else was. Noah listened to God. He talked to God. He loved being with God. He talked to God and he just loved being with God, like you do with your best friend. Noah, God said, things have gone wrong. People have filled my world with hate instead of love. They are destroying themselves with each other and my world. I must stop them. First, we'll build an ark. Do you know how to build an ark? Neither did Noah. Luckily, God knew and he would show him. I wanted to show you that picture. Really quick. All right, a storm is coming, God told Noah, but I will rescue you, I promise. I'll send the animals to you, ones that creep and crawl and slither and slime and gallop and hop and bound and climb. And don't forget to pack everyone food. The storm was going to wash away all the hate and sadness and everything that had gone wrong and make the world clean again. God had thought up a way to keep Noah safe. But Noah would have to trust God and do exactly what God told him. So Noah built an ark, short for a very large boat. Noah's neighbors came out to watch and point and laugh because they didn't believe Noah about the boat or the storm or needing to be rescued. And Noah must have looked very silly. His boat was in the desert, and the desert was nowhere near the sea. And there wasn't even a cloud in the sky. Why would anybody need an umbrella, let alone a boat? But Noah didn't mind so much what other people thought. He minded what God thought. So he just did what God told him to do. When the ark was ready, God said, "All aboard!" And Noah's family and all the animals climbed inside. And God shut that door. Let me show you this one. This one's cute. And it started raining for minutes that joined up to hours, that joined up to days, that joined up into weeks and weeks. And the rain joined up into puddles and joined up into rivers that joined into lakes that joined into a flood that covered the whole entire earth. Their boat that had once seemed so big suddenly seemed very, very small. But in the middle of the huge storm and the crashing waves and all the thunder and lightning and through it all, God was with them. And God kept them safe for 40 long, long days and 40 very long nights. Finally, the rain stopped and the sun came out and Noah threw open all the windows. Hooray! Everyone shouted. Noah sent his dove out to explore, and it wasn't long before she brought him back a fresh olive leaf. Everyone knew exactly what that meant. She had found a tree and land. The water was going down. At last the boat landed quite suddenly on top of a great mountain. And as soon as it was safe, God said, "Out you come." And so they did, everyone skipping and dancing onto the dry land. The first thing Noah did was to thank God for rescuing them, just as he promised. And the first thing God did was make another promise. I won't ever destroy the world again. And like a warrior who puts away his bow and arrow at the end of a great battle, God said, "See, I have hung up my bow in the clouds." And there in the clouds, just where the storm meets the sun, was a beautiful bow made of light. It was a new beginning in God's world. It wasn't long before everything went wrong again, but God wasn't surprised. He knew this would happen. That's why before the beginning of time, he had another plan, a better plan. A plan not to destroy the world, but to rescue it. A plan to one day send his own son, the rescuer. God's strong anger against hate and sadness and death would come down once more, but not on his people or his world. No, God's war bow was not pointing down at his people. It was pointing up into the heart of heaven. All right, so day 5, a giant staircase to heaven, the Tower of Babel, Genesis 11. All right, Noah and his family lived in the land, and his children had children, and those children had more children, and then those children had even more. Well, you got the picture. Until there were lots of people on the earth once more. Now, back then, everyone spoke exactly the same language, so you didn't need to learn Swahili or Japanese or anything, because you could say hello to anyone and they knew what you meant. One day everyone was talking and they came up with an idea. Let's build ourselves a beautiful city to live in. It can be our home and we'll be safe forever. Then they had another idea, and let's build a really tall tower to reach up to heaven. Yes, they said, we'll say, look up here, and everyone will look at us, and we'll look down on them. And then, well, we'll see, well, you know, we are something, and we'll be like God. Well, I don't think this is a very good idea. We'll be famous and safe and happy, and everything will be all right. So they got to work. Brick by brick, the tower grew higher and higher until it soared above the city, touching the sky. They built stairs in the tower to climb to the top. It was like a giant staircase to heaven. Look, they cheered. We're the ones. See what we can do with our very own hands. They were quite pleased with themselves, but God wasn't pleased with them. God could see what they were doing. They were trying to live without him, but God knew that that wouldn't make them happy or safe or anything. If they kept on like this, they would only destroy themselves, and God loved them too much to let that happen. So they stopped their plans. One morning, they went to work as usual, but everything was different. Their words were all new and funny. You see, God had given each person a completely different language. Suddenly, no one understood what anyone else was saying. Someone would say, "How do you do?" And another person thought they said, "How ugly are you?" It wasn't funny. You could be saying something nice like, "Such a lovely morning," and get a punch in the nose because they thought you said, "Hush up, you're boring." Wow. You couldn't even say "pardon" to check if you'd heard right because no one understood the word either. It wasn't easy to work together after that, as soon as you could imagine. People were always quarreling and fighting and getting into a dreadful muddle and becoming grumpier and grumpier until at last they were all too cross to keep on building. And they just had to stop. After that, people scattered all over the world, which is how we ended up with so many different languages to this day. You see, God knew however high they reached, however they tried, people could never get back to heaven by themselves. People didn't need a staircase, they needed a rescuer, because the way back to heaven wasn't a staircase, it was a person. People could never reach up to heaven, so heaven would have to come down to them. And one day it would. So the next one is day 6, Sons of Laughter, God's special promise to Abraham from Genesis 12 through 21. Years passed and things didn't get any better. People were still just as cruel and mean to one another. They still got sick and died, and God's world was still full of tears. It was never meant to be like this, but God was getting ready to do something about it. It was going to make all the wrong things right, and he was going to do it through a family. Abraham, God said, how many stars are there? God was about to tell his friend a wonderful secret. Let me see, Abraham said, rolling up his sleeves. But have you ever tried counting stars? Then you know how hard it is. 993, 994, 997. No, wait, 1, 2. Of course he kept losing count. Too many, he said. Guess what, God laughed. I will give you so many children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, you won't be able to count them either. Abraham couldn't help giggling at such a wonderful idea. But he stopped himself. How could he have a family? Don't be silly. He didn't have any children, let alone grandchildren. He wiped away a tear. Anyway, it was far too late for him to start having babies at his age. He was 99 years old. What could God mean? And then God told Abraham his secret rescue plan. Abraham, I will make your family very big. God promised until one day your family will come to number more than even all the stars in the sky. Abraham looked up at the dark night sky, thick with stars. You'll be my special family, my people, and through you, everyone on earth will be blessed. It was an incredible promise. God was going to rescue the world through Abraham's family. One of the great-great-great-grandchildren would be the child, the promised one, the rescuer. But it's too wonderful, Abraham said. How can it be true? Is anyone too good to be true? God asked. Is anything too wonderful for me? So Abraham trusted what God said, more than what his eyes could see, and he believed. Now when Abraham's wife Sarah heard God promise, she just had to laugh herself. But it wasn't a happy laugh. It had tears in it. She'd always wanted a baby. Could her dreams come true? Could she really have a baby when she was 90 years old? No, of course not. Don't be silly. It was far too late. Sarah didn't believe God could do what he promised. She had forgotten that when God says something, it's as good as done. Of course, it was as easy for God to give her a baby son as it was for him to make all the stars in the sky. Sure enough, 9 months later, just as God had said, Sarah gave birth to a baby boy. They named him Isaac, which means son of laughter. And Sarah laughed, but this time it was a glorious, happy laugh. Her dream had come true, and God's promise to do exactly what he said had come true. He would always look after Abraham's family, his special people. And one day God would send another baby, a baby promised to a girl who didn't even have a husband. But this baby would bring laughter to the whole world. This baby would be everyone's dream come true. I hope that you're enjoying this Advent as much as I am. So help me hang day 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to turn you over just a little bit. Day 4, it's the rainbow. That God promises never to flood the earth again. Day 5 was the ladder, to remind us that we cannot do things on our own and we cannot reach heaven on our own. Heaven will come down to us one day. And son of laughter, to remind us when God tells us something, especially about having a baby, and God tells us we're going to have a baby, it's going to happen. God's promise. All right, I hope that you enjoyed your day with me doing the Advent calendar. Tomorrow we're going to do day 7, 8, and 9, and then we should be caught up very close, where maybe we'll only have to do 2 a day. All right, so I'm just going to do a little bit of Christmas wrapping for our Vlogmas number 10, and we will see you, I guess, maybe a little later. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.
Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus Lane. Vixen and Blitzen and all his reindeers pulling on the reins. There's a jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock. Jingle bells swing and jingle bells ring. Snowing and blowing a bushel of fun. Now the jingle hop has begun.
You gave it away this year to save me from tears. I'll give it to someone special. Let it snow.
Okay, well, there you go. That's the ending of our vlog. That's all the presents I had to wrap. I didn't have many to do today. But thanks for joining us, and I hope that you enjoy us tomorrow for Advent. See you soon.